Good evening, and once again, welcome to Mo's motherfucking channel, biatches. Anyway, today, March 14th, 2020, we are still in the midst of Mr. Shit-ass goddamn bitch motherfucking rat ass homo shit coronavirus. Fuck you, bitch. Fuck you, virus. Go back to hell where you came from, motherfucker. Fuck you. Today, I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about pneumonia and respiratory illnesses. And I want to talk about getting this goddamn fucking economy back on track. So, before I go there, there's two things that I want to talk about. I'm a black man. I'm not a baby. I'm not a retard. I'm not an idiot. If I know that there's something that I'm doing that's detrimental to my health and my advancement, it is incumbent upon me as a responsible, mature adult to make the relevant fucking changes to affect a positive outcome. It's no secret. It is no fucking secret that black people do not take care of their fucking health. It is not a fucking secret. Ask every fucking black person you know, and they know someone in their family who has high blood pressure, hypertension, blah, 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 blah. These are conditions you as an individual can address. Diabetes. All right, there's genetic diabetes, and then there's diabetes that is brought upon by someone not eating right, not exercising, not taking care of their fucking body. How many times do I have to go to these fucking gyms? And who do I see in there? I see white people. I see Asian people. I hardly see black people. I hardly see Latino people. Yet who are the fattest people is black people and Latino people. I see old white women in the gym taking classes. I see young white women in the gym, young Asian women, old Asian women. When I was in California, I used to train every morning, soccer and quarterback, down in West Covina. And I go down there every morning at about 6 a.m. And there's about 20 to 30 old ass Chinese motherfuckers out there doing Tai Chi. And you don't see niggas doing that shit. And you know goddamn well that this virus is gonna fuck with you if you have pre-existing health conditions, but you don't take care of your fucking health. And so now we have a lot of fucking black people dying because of this shit. And I bet you, if you go back and look at the data, you'll realize that a lot of those black people who died were fucking unhealthy. A lot of those Latinos who died were unhealthy. What the fuck is wrong with you niggas? You don't give a fuck about your goddamn life? You know there's a killer out there. And that killer don't give a fuck if you're black, if you're white, if you're whatever. That killer coming for you, motherfucker. And if you're unhealthy, you got a greater chance of dying from that motherfucking killer. And you shit ass niggas still not taking care of your fucking health. Wake up, niggas. I don't want to hear any fucking stories out there in the media about, oh, this virus is attacking black people. This virus does not know if you're black or white. All this virus gives a fuck about is if it could kill you. And if you're ill, it's gonna kill you, motherfucker. So take care of your fucking health, black people. Take care of your goddamn fucking health. And stop giving me these fucking sob stories. This is our responsibility. We need to learn from this. As a people, we need to fucking learn from this and start taking care of our fucking health. What the fuck is wrong with us? And as a black person, next time you see another black person that is not taking care of their health, you tell them, nigga, do you want to die or do you want to live? Fuck this shit, niggas. Fuck this shit. Let this be a wake-up call. Take care of your fucking health, nigga. Take care of your fucking health. The second thing I want to talk about before I go into my video focus today. Now this man Trump, I don't like him. I don't like him at all. I think he should have been impeached. You know, I ain't no Trump fan. Trust me, I ain't no Trump fan. But I want to understand. Because every fucking where I look, Trump this, Trump this, Trump this. I'm trying to understand. The way you motherfuckers play this shit and portray this shit is like Trump went and sat somewhere in some fucking basement, created this virus so he could come out here and kill as many Americans as he could. It's like Trump is doing everything in his power to ensure that as many Americans die as possible. And I just don't see it. I really don't fucking see all the fuck-ups that you people are saying Trump is doing. It baffles me. I understand you hate Trump. I understand you hate the man. But goddamn, if Trump went to the moon tomorrow and came back with a cure and said, I got a cure, let's cure the people, I fucking guarantee that all of you motherfuckers will come out and say he's bullshit. You wouldn't even give him a fucking chance. Chloroquine. Chloroquine. Once upon a time, I was in Africa as a small child. I got malaria. Chloroquine saved me. I didn't have no fucking side effects, nothing. Chloroquine saved me. If there's evidence, however slight, that chloroquine can save those people who are dying, and Trump as a president says, let us use this to save these people, what is the fucking problem? I don't understand you motherfuckers. Yes, hate Trump. Yes, despise him for the shit he's done and for the character that is embodied in his person. But don't shoot down everything the man says which might have some validity. What the fuck is wrong with you little emotional bitches? That's a problem with this country. You got a bunch of fucking little emotional bitch motherfuckers running around, running their mouths, not knowing what the fuck they talking about, but just reacting. Give the man a chance, god damn it. Give the man a fucking chance. Yes, he fucked up. To his discredit, he should own up to his fuck-ups. But give the man a chance to succeed. That's all I'm saying. I don't love him. I don't like him. Fuck Trump. But not everything that comes out his fucking mouth is garbage. And you need to start assessing him on that level. For all you know, after November, he's gone. But goddamn right now, give the man a chance. That's all I'm saying. Give the man a fucking chance. If you were in his shoes, you would like people to give you a chance. Let's go on. In reading the literature or the stories coming out about COVD 19, it has become apparent to me that a lot of the afflicted are consumed by respiratory illnesses, specifically pneumonia. It's interesting because what that tells you is that primarily this is a virus that attacks the pulmonary system. Now, what is a pulmonary system? You have your heart, you have your nostrils, you have your mouth, you have your lungs inside your rib cage, you have your blood vessels, all right? You inhale air. It goes down your trachea, your throat, into your lungs. The bronchioles, whatever, blah, blah, blah. They take that air in. Within your lungs, you have cells whose purpose is to process that air and extract the oxygen. They feed that oxygen into your blood vessels. So it gets distributed throughout your body, feeding your cells the oxygen they need to perform respiration and to perform metabolic functions. If your lungs are impaired, if they cannot take in oxygen, if they cannot take in air and process that air to extract the oxygen, then your body, your cells in your body lack the oxygen they need to breathe and to perform catabolic activities, which require oxygen as a fuel that fires up those biochemical reactions within the cell. So the lungs play a critically important role in the effective functioning of the body. If something enters the lungs and prevents the lungs from supplying oxygen to the blood, then your body ceases to function. In prior videos, I've spoken about how viruses attack cells. Apparently, this virus is focused on the lungs. And a lot of the people who've been hospitalized because of this virus have required respirators. Now, what is a respirator? A respirator basically takes over the lungs. What a respirator now does, it performs a function of taking in air, extracting that oxygen, giving it to the blood, and exhaling carbon dioxide. That way, that person on a respirator with fucked up lungs can continue to supply oxygen to their bloodstream. Now, you might see people that walk around with hoses in their nose. Those are in oxygen tanks. That's because their body, their lungs, cannot produce the oxygen that's required to feed the bloodstream. So they need to take in oxygen, enriched oxygen, to feed their bloodstream. So I did some research on pneumonia because I like to know things. I don't like to speak about things based on frivolous opinions which cannot be substantiated. I like to know things. So when I speak from a position of knowledge, not opinion, not feeling. Pneumonia is an infection of one or both of your lungs. An infection simply means that a foreign agent which introduces toxicity into that environment has implanted itself. So when you have pneumonia, you have a foreign agent that has implanted itself in the lungs and is fucking up the normal operations of the lungs. This infection causes an inflammation in the air sacs of the lungs, which are called the alveoli, A-L-V-E-O-L-I. And these alveoli then fill up with fluid or pus, which makes it difficult for them to process that oxygen, and hence it makes it difficult for the individual to breathe. There are three primary agents that cause pneumonia: bacteria, viruses, and fungi. And these agents are transmitted or spread through airborne droplets from sneezing or coughing with your mouth open, or sneezing with your mouth with your nose open. Dumb motherfuckers. Your mother should have taught you when you cough, you cover your mouth. Your mother should have taught you when you sneeze, you cover your nose. Simple shit. It can also be spread by contact with contaminated surfaces. Take note of the things that I'm saying. The symptoms of pneumonia: coughing. And coughing is not bad, because when you cough, you're expunging shit from your lungs. So if you have a lot of toxins in your lungs from the bacteria or virus, when you cough, you're getting it out, which is not bad. It's good. But fever, not good. Chills, difficulty breathing, chest pains, fatigue, nausea or vomiting, and headaches. Those are symptoms of pneumonia. The causes of pneumonia: bacteria, specifically the following bacteria: Mycoplasma pneumoniae. Number 2, Haemophilus influenzae. Number 3, Legionella pneumoniae. Whoever named these shits, fuck you. Why not some simple names, motherfucker? Secondly, pneumonia can be caused by viruses. And the culprits here are influenza, which we know about because of the flu, respiratory syncytial virus, RSV, and rhinovirus, which I'm sure every fucking human being over the age of 6 is familiar with, because you've all had a fucking cold and then die from it. Now, I just want to note that in the vast majority of cases caused by viruses, simply resting at home, drinking some hot soup, hot tea, staying warm, taking care of yourself, kills it within a few days. It is that bacterial pneumonia that puts people in ICU and that kills people. I want to say that again. Very, very, very extremely rarely does pneumonia caused by viruses kill people. It is far more common that pneumonia caused by bacteria kills people. Think about that. To treat bacterial pneumonia, use antibiotics. And to treat viral pneumonia, you use antivirals. As far as vaccinations available for pneumonia, you have Prevnar 13 and Pneumovax 23. You have the flu vaccine, and you have HIV vaccine. Now, the Prevnar 13 and Pneumovax 23 protect against the pneumococcal bacteria. The flu vaccine defends against the influenza virus, and the HIV vaccine will provide defenses against the Haemophilus influenza type 3, not type B bacteria. So, what I'm saying is, I'm not a medical expert. I'm not an MD. I don't have a PhD in virology. I got a brain. I got common sense. What I've been seeing in the news is that a lot of these people have respiratory issues. Ventilator, ventilator. That's what I've been seeing. What I'm reading is that viral pneumonia is extremely mild. It's bacterial pneumonia that is deadly. Now, they say these people that die and needed respirators were infected with COVD-19. But COVD-19 is a strain of influenza, a mutation. And just to explain what a mutation is, think about it like this. I got this little bottle. It's colorless. All right. Now, if I put some paint on it, maybe I put some stripes on it, it's not the same little bottle. There's been a slight change to that bottle. That slight change from a genetic perspective is what you call a mutation. You have a cell. It has a nucleus. Within that nucleus, you have a DNA. That DNA has different genetic sequences, which determine how that cell should replicate itself. Everything being normal, cell 1 replicates to cell 2. Cell 2 is the exact identical twin of cell 1. Cell 2 replicates to cell 3. Cell 3 is the exact identical twin of cell 1. Because the DNA within cell 1 governs how cell 2, cell 3, and so forth will structure themselves. A mutation is when I alter one of the DNA strands such that when cell 1 replicates to cell 2, because of that altered strand, cell 2 is not an identical replication of cell 1. So when you talk about the coronavirus being a mutation from the influenza virus, that means that somewhere along that DNA strand, 1 or 2 sequences were changed, such that this virus is now different from its parent. Now, before you go out there and say your children are mutants of you, know your children are not mutants of you, because your children are the result of you, the male, and the female, their DNA coming together to create an entirely new genetic sequence, which has its roots in the parents. So, based on historical precedents, viral pneumonia very, very, very rarely kills. In the overwhelming majority of cases, it is mild. It is bacterial pneumonia that kills and results in hospitalizations. I don't know what's going on in them hospitals. I don't know what their diagnostic protocol or treatment protocol is. But I just got a question. If all those people are suffering from respiratory issues, and we know based on precedents that viral pneumonia is not life-threatening, are we looking at the wrong thing? In our effort to contain the contagion, to contain COVD-19, are we administering antivirals when we should be administering antibiotics? If the virus is a killer, then yes, administer antivirals. But if it's a bacteria in there that is killing, and we're administering antivirals, then we might as well put a gun to the patient's head and kill them, because we're doing nothing to help them. Just a question. I might be wrong. I hope to God I'm wrong. I hope to God I am wrong. Because if I am right, that is 22,000 people in this country that died for nothing. I hope to God I am wrong. I really do. Let's move on. The economy. I'm perplexed, so that's what I'll do. Now, maybe it's because I got 2 undergrad degrees, one in electrical engineering, one in economics. I'll be the first to say, economics is not a science. It's a philosophy. It's a thought process. There's no exactitude in economics. None. None. A lot of decisions on a global, domestic perspective are made on economic theory. The rational consumer. What the fuck is a rational consumer? You have an impulsive consumer. So, fuck economics. But it's a systemic way of thinking, of looking at things. That's what I appreciate about it. As an engineer, if I'm designing an integrated circuit, if I'm designing a power system, a transformer, if I'm designing a communications network, I'm basing my design criterion on facts. Not fantasies, not fictions, not what I'd like to have or see, whatever. All right? So, maybe that's where my mind comes from. And when you look at things and you realize that the vast majority, as in 80 to 85% of people that graduate from American colleges do not obtain degrees in science, engineering, technology, medicine, pharmacy. So, the vast majority of college-educated Americans, the vast majority of Americans lack the capacity to reason, to think critically. A lot of these politicians, a lot of these talk-a-lot motherfuckers, a lot of these media people lack the ability to reason, and number 2, have no fucking understanding of how an economy functions. So, let me take a few minutes, hopefully not long, let me take a few minutes to expound on exactly what the fuck an economy is. Because a lot of the shit that I hear makes no fucking sense. It ain't about being a rich person or a poor person, white or black, Republican or Democrat, conservative or liberal. It's common fucking sense. An economy is an ecosystem. You could talk about a local economy, maybe a subsection of a city, or a state, or a nation, or the world. It's an ecosystem. Within this ecosystem, transactions occur. And these transactions, for the most part, are relevant for the livelihood of the people in this ecosystem. You need to put a roof over your head so you're not sleeping outside. You need to put food in your belly so you have energy to function. You need to put gas in your car so you can get from point A to point B, or pay bus fare or subway fare to get from point A to point B. These are all transactions. When you pay your landlord that rent, that's a transaction. When you pay your landlord that rent, he could go to the banker and pay his mortgage. That's a transaction. When you go to the grocery store and you get your shopping cart and fill it with goodies and go to the checkout aisle and pay them, that's a transaction. When that grocery store owner pays that cashier, that's a transaction. All of these transactions taking place within that ecosystem. And that ecosystem can be defined as a geographical boundary within which transactions between the constituents of that boundary take place. You now have an economic system. When that economic system transacts with another economic system, so now you have the U.S. buying oil from Venezuela, that's a transaction. Now you're entering the global economic system. In order for an economic system to function, members, constituents of that economic system who engage in transactions must have the wherewithal to support those transactions. Now you notice, I'm not talking about currency or jobs or any of that. I'm speaking in broad terms. Because by speaking in broad terms, I could talk about a monarchy. We could go back to medieval Europe. You had the king who owned everything. The king had his vassals, his lords, his barons, his knights, to whom he accorded tracts of land. That's why in Europe you hear about the Duchess of blah blah, the Lord of blah blah, the Dutch of blah blah. Because the King of England would say, all right, Lord such and such, I give you this tract of land. Lord such and such, I give you this tract of land. And as a lord, you get serfs. You get those serfs out there, those peasants, whatever you want to call them, to till that soil. Once they till that soil, they harvest. From that harvest, you give them a little pittance. Just enough so they don't die. So they could plant the next season and harvest the next season. Just keep them living. You keep a chunk of that, and the rest you give back to the king. So there are transactions taking place, primarily between the lord and the peasants, and the lord and the king. Now the king might decide he wants to invade another nation, so he has to raise an army. How's he going to raise that army? He's going to give money to his lords, and they're going to go amongst their serfs and conscript soldiers, and they'll pay them some money. Another transaction. So that's a monarchy/feudal system, an economic system in which transactions are taking place. You could go to a socialist system, a purely socialist system, not what Bernie Sanders was trying to implement, but a purely theoretical socialist system in this system, the government controls everything. And so what the government will do, it will ration shit. You could get so much bread, so much milk, so much beef. And you might have a card or something, and you go to the store, and you get so much, so much, so much. That is still a transaction. But that transaction is controlled. So it's a controlled transaction. You don't go to the store and buy 10 pounds of beef. You go to the store and get 1 pound of beef, which is allocated to you. It's still a transactional system. In a capitalist system, now you want to go buy 10 pounds of beef, you could buy 10 pounds of beef. But now you need money to do that. So what do you do to get that money? You sell your services in exchange for wages. Still a transaction. So throughout, in any kind of economic system, you need transactions. Even in a socialist system, you still need businesses to perform. In Cuba, you have businesses that perform. And those businesses generate revenue. Now, that revenue is handled differently, but the businesses still generate revenue to pay their workers. The bottom line is this. For any economy to function, it is a mandate that there be trade, that there be transactions, that citizens can sell their time for wages, such that they can engage in economic transactions. There is no fucking way. There is no fucking way you can maintain an economy in the current situation. There's no fucking way. You could be the greatest motherfucking communist in the world. But even under communism, you need trade. Even under socialism, you need trade. Even under dictatorship, monarchies, you need trade. So please, you liberal arts educated people, you history majors and philosophy majors, and I don't know, political science majors and lawyers, and you non-scientific, non-reasoning people, please educate yourselves on the fundamental basics of economics. Please. Because you are speaking out of such fucking ignorance. It is ludicrous. No nation, fuck even the globe, no nation can continue to exist without economic activity. You could go back to the beginning of humankind, 1 billion fucking years ago. Yes, I said 1 billion, not 1 million, 1 billion. You could go back 1 billion years ago when humans first got to this planet and started populating this planet. And you will realize that even 1 billion years ago, trade was taking place. So what the fuck are you trying to do? That's my question. What the fuck are you trying to do by doing everything possible to prevent the reopening of the economy? What are you trying to do? If your concern is a pandemic, which is valid, and you're concerned that Trump is trying to rush things, this is what you do. You say, okay, Mr. Trump, President Trump, we see what you're trying to do, but you're trying to rush things. We want to get the economy open too. This is what we propose. It might be slower than your approach, but we are opening the economy. We are getting things going again. But when you come back and say, oh, no, we don't want to open shit, what the fuck is wrong with you? Please, one of you, explain to me. What do you intend to accomplish by shutting down the global economy till the end of the year? Because at that time, there will be no global economy. There will be a black market economy, but there will be no global economy. What the fuck are you trying to accomplish? Let's move on. How do you reopen the economy? Effectively. And when I say effectively, I mean you get people back to work, start earning, you get economic activity moving again, and you keep the pandemic contained. 3 things that result in effectiveness. How do you do that? The number one thing that needs to happen prior to the pandemic, corporate debt was insanely high. U.S. corporations are highly leveraged. Forget COVD-19. If we would have had a 6 to 12 month downturn, a lot of these corporations would have been in serious fucking trouble. You could say COVID-19 saved their bitch asses. Corporations are drowning in debt. Even with the tax breaks, they're drowning in debt. Consumer credit debt. No one's talking about that. Consumer credit card debt is high. Is high. A lot of Americans are deeply in fucking debt. And COVD is just going to make it 10 times worse. I'm used to making $60,000 a year, $70,000 a year. I'm carrying $40,000 in debt between my car loans, credit cards, mortgage, but I could pay it off. Now I'm collecting unemployment. I've gone from making $5,000-$6,000 a month to making $2,000 a month for 4 months. My debts are piled up. I'm in a fucked up situation. I hope my goddamn job is there when I get back, because I'm in a fucked up situation. Student loan debt is high. College kids coming out of college, they're fucked. They're fucked. Once you take that graduation gown off, that cap, you're fucked. You got to pay that money back. So, number one, if you open the economy back up and people are defaulting, credit cards, car loans, mortgages, that ain't gonna be good. That ain't gonna be good at all. So the first thing you need to do is give a 6-month moratorium from the time the economy reopens fully. So let's say in September, you ease all restrictions and we're back to 100% economic activity. September, October, November, December, January, February. Give a debt moratorium till February. During that time frame, no interest is charged on debt. No interest is accumulated. Within that time frame, debtors have the option to renegotiate the terms of their loan with the lender, such that 6 to 9 months in arrears can be folded in to the larger loan package, such that if I was paying $600 a month on a loan, instead of now paying $900 a month, I pay $650. That will be much more manageable, and the result of that is that once the economy opens, instead of consumers hoarding their money to pay that $900 bill, they will now be able to spend their money, and as they spend their money, that will spur the economy further. It's called disposable income. You want to make sure you maximize the disposable income of consumers. With businesses, larger businesses may issue bonds and pay interest on those bonds. So for larger businesses, what I recommend is some kind of facility within the Treasury where they could renegotiate the terms of those bonds, such that I haven't been making money for 6 months. Paying interest in these bonds with no income is going to fuck me up. So maybe I get a bridge loan from the Fed or from the Treasury to cover me for that 6-month period, and then after that, I'm on my own. That will eliminate the prospect of businesses laying off employees in order to cut costs to meet their financial obligations. Large businesses and small businesses typically subscribe to a line of credit from a bank or a loan. The line of credit is typically used to meet working capital requirements. Now, the beauty of a line of credit is that you tap into it when you need it. So there's $100,000 sitting there. If I need $20,000 this week, I pull $20,000. Next week, I put it back. All right. If I need $100,000, I pull $100,000. Next week, I put it back. So that might not be as big a constraint, but you want to make sure businesses can access those lines of credits with ease without any constrictions, because a lot of businesses rely on those lines of credit to fund their day-to-day operations. You might also want to revisit GAAP, the generally accepted accounting principles, GAAP, and look at how for a temporary period of time they could adjust accounting rules on interest payments, on depreciation, on amortization to help businesses get back on their feet. And then if you're going to do that, you might as well talk to the SEC as concerns financial reporting, quarterly earnings statements, and so forth. See how that could be adjusted to accommodate this transition back to normalcy. Before I go on, I want to talk about something real quick. There's two kinds of money in circulation. When you go to the Federal Reserve site, you'll see M1, M2, M3, different classifications of money, and that's based on the liquidity of that asset. Liquidity means if I got $10 in my pocket, I don't got my wallet on me. If I had a $10 bill and you're selling this bottle for $10, I give you $10. I come out my wallet, bam. That's highly liquid. If I own a property, a house, an apartment building, a commercial building, and I want to get this bottle for $10, I got to sell that property first so I could get that $10 to give to you. That's less liquid. So M1 is the most liquid asset. And this typically includes stock holdings, bond holdings, demand deposits, credit cards, and currency, cash. Within M1, you have currency, and then you have what I'd call non-currency. Currency is the $10, $5, $20 in your pocket that you go to a store and you buy some shells so you could twist a blunt and smoke your blunt. Or the $20 you go to your plug, let me get a dub, my nigga. That's currency. When you go to a bank and you borrow $150,000 to buy your dream house, the bank creates that $150,000 out of nothing. It's like the Big Bang Theory. Before, there was nothing. Then all of a sudden, there's $150,000. And you could go out there and buy your $150,000 house. When that contractor pays his carpenters, his plumbers, his electricians, he's not creating money out of nothing. He's paying them in currency. So the majority of M1 in circulation is bank-created cash, which is created out of thin air. Currency is a minority of money in circulation. I just wanted to get that out there. Now, I've spoken about managing the credit facilities. The next thing that government needs to do, take a play from FDR, 1933, Great Depression. What did he do? Massive fiscal stimulus. You got two kinds of stimulus. Monetary stimulus, which is the Fed playing with the interest rates, the Fed buying back bonds, selling bonds, what they call quantitative easing. Then you have fiscal stimulus, which is the government spending money or giving money. Tax policy, government spending, that's fiscal stimulus. When the government increases taxes, they're taking more money out of the economy. When they reduce taxes, they're putting more money into the economy. When the government builds new roads, new railways, they're putting money into the economy. Now they print this money, but they print it and put it out into the economy. So, given the 16 to 20 million unemployed, and by the time this is over, there'll probably be 35 million unemployed, and everyone and their grandmother, since Obama days, been talking about infrastructure. Well, check this out, government. You just gave $2 trillion away. $2 trillion. This is what will really give you that rocket ship performance, Mr. Trump. $1 trillion infrastructure stimulus bill. That $1 trillion will directly employ about 2 million people and indirectly employ another 4 to 5 million. So right away, you got 7 million people employed. Right away. You want a rocket ship? That will give you the rocket ship. Talk to Pelosi. Start talking right now. Talk to the governors. Start talking right now. $1 trillion infrastructure spending stimulus. It will do wonders for this economy. Where can that $1 trillion go? Power grid, smart grid, fiber to the curb, roads, bridges, dams, railroads, lithium, nuclear power plants, oil refineries. Start drilling in Alaska, build a pipeline, bring it all the way down the West Coast. $1 trillion, man, will do wonders. You'll be amazed. You might even get reelected off that shit. The other thing, you've had not a shrunk, but a crushed economy that don't exist. Then you open up. Hey, anyone can go back to work. Now these small businesses, these medium-sized businesses, these large businesses, they need to sell to someone. So this is what I propose. $250 billion set aside by the government. And the government says, we're going to use $250 billion to buy from American businesses. Even if you don't really need it, just buy it. Just buy it. This is going to get the sales chain moving again. It's going to get the supply chain moving again. And bam, 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 the economy is back running on track. $250 billion. Third thing, You need to bring trade back. Trade has been dead. Trade has been fucked up. Trade has been thrown out the fucking window. You need to bring it back. But we got this pandemic. So we need to be cautious and do it right. So you set milestones. I was a project manager once upon a time. We set milestones. We work towards those milestones. Your first milestone is restore the economy to 50% capacity. Number one, you got 20 million unemployed. You've done the infrastructure shit. You restored this to 50%. That 20 million, overnight, becomes 7 million. So within a week, you go from 20 million unemployed to 7 million. That will send the stock market up by at least 2,000 points. I guarantee that. I'm a trader. I know. How do you get to this 50%? Number one, you're going to have to scale back. If I had a restaurant, I had a kitchen, and I had 15 people in that kitchen, I can only have 6 people in that kitchen. Have the fire marshal come out. Look. I have 15 waiters, I can only have 6 waiters. I could accommodate 100 guests, I can only accommodate 30 guests. I had a lobby, I could seat 50 people, I can only sit 10 people in that lobby. I had a distribution center, a warehouse. Have people in forklifts, pallet jacks, cherry pickers, all that shit. All right? Only one person per aisle. If you're picking, only one person per aisle. If you're loading, space the trucks apart. If you're replenishing, only one person per aisle. You cut back on your productivity, but you're still productive. Same with factories. I got an assembly line, I got people bunched up, space them out. All right? Restaurants, hotels, before open, sanitize the whole place. Every 3 or 4 hours, shut down. Sanitize the whole place. All right? As people walk in, sanitize them. As people walk out, sanitize them. Employees in the locker room, the back area where they keep their stuff, sanitize them. Sanitize that area. And then space the seating so people are not bunched up. Office buildings, where you're dealing with office workers. As I've mentioned before, in the air ducts, sanitization. The surfaces, desks, carpet, doors, sanitization. All right? People at this stage, 50% stage, office workers, you still work from home. You only come into the office when you have to meet. If it's a project meeting, blah, 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 you come into the office. A meeting room, a conference room, where it had seats right next to each other, space the seats out. Before the meeting takes place, sanitize it. After the meeting takes place, sanitize it. And for the most part, aside from meetings, only essential staff that have to work on location are present. This is the 50% level. If you're dealing with international trade, ports, harbors, railroad depots, truck depots, as the shipments come in, cargo, the containers, pulling them off the ships, load them in port, pull them off the train cars, bring them down, trucks, unload the trucks. As the shipments come in, before you even unload them, sanitize it. After you've unloaded it and staged it, sanitize it. Maintain distance between workers. Maintain distance between the docking vessels. If you had a vessel dock every 30 minutes, every 15 minutes, extend that to an hour. So this first stage, and then lastly, if you're dealing with transportation, buses, trains, taxis, and so forth, airlines. Like I said before, if you have a bus, no two passengers. If you have rows of seats, 1, 2, 3. Row 1 a passenger, row 2 no passenger, row 3 a passenger, row 4 no passenger. The same with planes, the same with trains. Once that vessel arrives, sanitize it after you've disembarked everybody. As you're disembarking people, sanitize them. As you're disembarking people, maintain space between the people. If you're operating a cab, Uber, whatever, a glass plate between the driver and the passenger. After every passenger is picked up and dropped off, sanitize the passenger compartment. Now, it's a lot of headache. It's a lot of headache. A lot of extra process. So you put it out there. If you're a business and you want to go back into business, these are the requirements we have of you. Manufacturing, distribution, hospitality, restaurant, service, office worker, transportation. Break it down by NAICS code. These are the requirements we have of you to go back into business. We want you, as a business owner, to show us how you're going to meet these requirements. And once we're satisfied that you're going to meet these requirements, we'll let you open shop. If we're not satisfied, you can't open shop. And we're going to monitor you on a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever basis you want, to ensure your compliance with these requirements. No questions asked. Do it or stay shut. What does this do? Gives confidence to the populace that, hey, we're getting out of this shithole. We're moving forward. Gives confidence to the policymakers. We're protecting the people. And then it starts to put money in people's pockets. A smart business might say, well, if I'm operating at 30% capacity, let me extend my hours so I can pull my target revenue. And you government should support them in that. If it means extending the hours of your public transportation services to accommodate the extended hours of these businesses, do it. It's your tax revenue. Do you want your tax revenue or do you not want your tax revenue? Do you want your sales tax revenue or do you not want your sales tax revenue? So work with them. Run this at 50% for 1 to 2 months. You might have to optimize it, adjust it, make it work well, and keep an eye on the pandemic. If it starts to rise up again, then make adjustments. You have 50%, maybe pull back to 30%. But if you have 50% and the pandemic stays constant, then stay at 50%. If it starts to drop, set targets. So if currently we have 500,000 infected and we got 10,000 dying each day, and that's when we bring in 50%, then we keep it there. When we now drop to 10,000 new infected a day and maybe 5,000 dying, or what I said, 1,000 dying a day, so now we got 200 dying a day, then go to the next stage, 75%. And all the 75% means is that now you're now expanding a little bit more. So if I had a requirement that workers stay this far apart at 50%, at 75%, now workers can stay this far apart. If I had a requirement that a restaurant can only hold 30 people at 50%, at 75%, I now say that restaurant can now hold from 30 to 70 people. And you keep an eye on the pandemic. You keep an eye on economic activity. If the pandemic drops even further, less people getting infected, less people dying, then bring it up to 100%. It's a stepwise process. You establish metrics for each step. Metrics to maintain, metrics to pull back, metrics to move up to the next step. Listen, people. Listen. There's nothing new under the goddamn motherfucking shit sun. Nothing new. Everything that is today was in the past. The airplanes you see flying above, the submarines, the light, electricity, cars, helicopters. Trust me. Trust me. 20, 30, 50,000 years ago, human beings had that technology. If you think I'm bullshitting, go to the Egyptian pyramids. To this day, with all our fucking technology, we cannot build something similar. We have been overcome by panic, by delusion, by ignorance, and confusion. Those things bring about the demise of human progress. It is now time for the intelligent, the capable, the courageous, and the bold to step up and be the leaders they are and lead us out of this catastrophe. The retards that have been running their fucking mouths nonstop since this shit began ain't took us no fucking where. And they will take us no fucking where. My call to all you intelligent people who have brains and use your fucking brains, step up now. If we leave it up to these idiots, we'd be living like Fred Flintstone in 2021. I ain't no fucking Stone Age living motherfucker. And I don't want to live in the fucking Stone Age. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I'm here to inspire thought and dialogue. Thank you. God bless. Do not be afraid. And good motherfucking shit ass night, bitches. Fuck all of you.